a sense of community when you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Small Talk. Well, my guest today has a very strong interest in the environment, which, by the way, I think we should all have. But we're going to find out how she got involved, when she got involved, things like that. Time to introduce Robyn Lucas. Welcome to the show, Robyn.
Hello. Yes, actually, Robyn Curtis. I was born Robyn Lucas, but now Robyn Curtis. But I answer to anything.
Okay.
So just so nobody's confused. Yeah. So I actually, when I semi-retired at 40, I wanted to look for somewhere to work on climate change specifically, and I couldn't find anywhere. So I joined Rotary because I didn't know anyone in town in Chilliwack. And actually, it's great because Rotary International in 2021 said, do something about climate change. So the whole 1.4 million Rotarians on the planet have been instructed to do something. So that gave me the green light.
Very good. Wow. Okay, so what have you done to date?
Well, in 2021, luckily, I found a gentleman in town, Dr. Tim Cooper, who is nuclear physics. He's got a PhD in nuclear physics, but has been teaching climate change for 2 decades. So luckily for me, he was willing to join Rotary so that we could start a climate change action group with the club. And it has become one of the primary recruiting tools for our club. People have been joining our club specifically to be part of the climate change action group. And so our team is actually 35 people deep now. So we started this climate change action group, and it's covering it. We actually have so many initiatives going that we actually can't get through it in an hour. We've just had to extend it to an hour and a half.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So at the table, what's interesting is we've actually, the local politicians, our 2 lovely MLAs now have a spot at the table, which is great because they have politicians have some of the most impact in what we can actually do about it. But we also have the scientists coming to the table. So we have Chris Bush, just joined, who is working in methane with the farming. We have Michael Hale, who created the Eco Village, and David Legere, who's working in hydrogen. And it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So we have the experts at the table. I'm simply their project manager, so I'm not the expert, but they point us in the right direction.
That's good. Yeah. You know, it's interesting because I was just thinking about this recently. Mm-hmm. Like, why have we allowed big businesses? Why have we allowed governments to take control? Like, I just think, because this is not their planet, this is our planet, right? You know, and it's not like we have another one to go to.
We don't. I know they keep looking at Mars as an alternative, but I figure we should probably work at home. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not. I think it's just that they can have the most impact.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
Government, yes, but some of the businesses, you know, it's like my concern is that they're more concerned about making money rather than the environment.
Well, and you know what? I think that financial is part of the sustainability, the 4 pillars of sustainability, which I wouldn't get right if I tried to do it right now on camera. Okay. But I actually am excited. I actually have hope because the green, I believe business will be part of the solution. And actually one of the initiatives we're working on right now is the climate fair, which is happening in April of 2023 in Chilliwack. And it has 3 parts. Rotary's hosting it. The city has sponsored us, so they've given us the Landing Sports Center. And we want to make the companies who are doing the green energy and the alternative energy money. Right. Because then they'll do more of the work. So what we have is we're going to have a trade show. So there you can actually see, okay, what does it mean to get solar panels, or what are they doing with hydrogen, or what are they doing with heat pumps, getting rid of your gas furnace? And what are the grants? Because a lot of people look at that and say, oh, it's really expensive. But when you look at the grants, the government is actually subsidizing part of that. But we're also running it as a job fair. So one of the things that are holding these companies back from really taking off is having enough people, like everywhere. But we are going to go to all the local trade schools, universities, and say, hey, why don't you jump onto one of these companies that are just on the leading edge? And we're actually going to have speakers. So you can listen to the experts talk about these things. So it's just 2 days. So it's going to be April 15th and 16th in town. And we already have 20 companies who have committed to joining us. So it's going to be, so it is, I have hope because there are smart people working on the issue.
Okay.
And I'm all for getting them as much business as we can get them, because
yeah, I mean, I'm all for that too as well, you know, obviously, right? I mean, who wouldn't be, you know? I'm just thinking about that other side, you know, which is, I didn't know, of course, what I'm glad what you're telling me is new to me, and so I'm really pleased about that, you know. And I don't think a lot of people know this.
Yes, and I think Krista Freeland has been talking a lot about it recently in the news, that she is also very excited about this new green energy technology. And, you know, I'm fine if one of the big companies that traditionally, I won't name any names, but traditionally have been working in the oil and gas. And of course, I'm not Pollyanna. I know we need oil and gas. My husband's a pilot. He flies airplanes. We still don't want to do a Hawaii on a battery.
Right.
There's certain realities, but just the shift. You know, we can do the shift. So if one of those companies wants to put solar panels in parts of Alberta that could, you know, energize the whole province,
For sure. Yeah.
go for it.
Come up with alternatives so that they are still at a job, but they're not destroying the planet at the same time, right?
Exactly. And I know there are, I actually don't have the debate with people. I have let my scientists do the science debate about whether it's a thing or not, or but we know that as long as the tar sands continue, we're in trouble. So, you know, and that's where big government has the ability to
make a difference. Change things.
Yeah, they have the real ability to make the decisions that we don't have the ability to stop.
Right. Yeah. You know, one of the things to think about, like I live in a condo, and, you know, you're talking about grants. We fall through the cracks.
Yes.
You know, which is unfortunate in a way, because we use up, like any building, we use up a lot of electricity, a lot of power, a lot of energy, you know. So if we could switch to, you know, having solar panels on our roof or whatever like that. But again, the cost is way too much. We're a very small building. We're only 24 units. So, you know, spreading that cost among 24 build apartments is not really, you know, doable, right?
Right, and retrofitting is the challenge. If we don't build so there's a thing called step code, so building step code, where you can actually, some of our communities in BC are actually building to step code 4, going on to 5, which is less energy use. So they're actually setting that standard. We're still sitting around 2. So we've been a bit slow at adopting the greener, and it is a bit of in my opinion, a bit of a short-term thinking, or our team's opinion, short-term thinking. So one of our teams, one of our groups in our climate change group are actually looking at this. What are keeping communities from moving forward on the steps code? Because it may cost a tiny bit more at the beginning, and I mean there's an increasing cost a little bit when you're building it, but for the people, the long-term cost, you're going to save money in the long term on energy. They can increase, as we've seen with gas, they can increase the price in energy, and people have to pay what it costs. Right. So we are working on that piece.
I watched this show. Yes, it's great. You know, I watched this show called The Building Off the Grid, and most of these people, they're out in the woods somewhere. So they're using solar energy. They're using different kinds of insulation that is not what do you call that, fiberglass insulation. And there's so many awesome ideas out there, you know, right?
Well, and there are those ideas. I just met with those ideas exist now. We actually have a few companies that are going to be at the fair that actually will design you a passive house. It's called Passive Houses. Okay. And they exist. We actually have Ian Carmichael, who just ran for election. Yes. He's actually building a passive house right now, which will, so he's actually doing that. He is on our climate change action group as well. Okay. So he's going to get a check from hydro instead of paying hydro.
I think it's wonderful. Yeah,
why not?
Yeah, he's been on the show when he was running for council, but he's also coming back to talk just about that, because I was so curious and fascinated by it, you know?
It's brilliant. And that's the thing, you know, they say that the trades are, we're looking at how we can support trades getting trained in the green energy. So we're working with trades who are already doing it. So it's already being done. They can do it. Yeah. The other piece that we're looking at is, you know, farming in Chilliwack is actually about 23% of the carbon output of our community. Okay. So we're looking at, we're working with a team that are really good writers, and they said there are grants available to farmers that we would be willing to write the grants for free if it gives them an opportunity to try a new way or implement a new process. So we're looking at that as well. But the biggest thing I think is education. So what we're really doing with it, we're actually working with the school board. So the school board we have created climate change resources. So what they do is, I guess you create a kit that teachers can use, that it actually starts teaching climate change from kindergarten. And we're going to create modules that go to grade 12.
Fabulous. Oh, that is so fabulous. Yeah.
We cannot have students coming out of our Chilliwack schools or any schools not understanding the science and implications of climate change, because they're going to have to live with it. So we have teachers. We are looking for more teachers to help our teachers out to write these resources. We've already had approved grades 3 to 5, and they want to showcase these modules at the Pro D Day in February. Right. And then we're going to look for keen teachers who would pilot our resources and give it a try in their classrooms.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's so good to hear. You know, you're telling me a lot of things that I hadn't known or heard about. And one of the things I think about is we don't know what we don't know.
Absolutely.
Right. So when words get out there, this is happening, that's happening, people can feel a little bit more optimistic.
Absolutely. And that's what I worked in an environment department at the YVR, actually was my background. Yeah. And a lot of the people that I worked with, it was 20 years ago, you know, the government at that time wasn't supporting the environment very much, and they really struggled. And a lot of them, they couldn't get the message out, and climate change wasn't accepted as readily as it is now. Some of them have gotten exhausted, I think, and moved to adaptation. So they're working for cities, and instead of mitigation of trying to keep climate change from happening, they're now doing what has to be done with cities and say, okay, when it does happen, what are we going to do about it? Right. How do we react to the floods? How do we react to the fires? Right. How do we survive the impacts? But I think now with what's happening with technology and science and the availability of the alternatives, I think we have a chance now of really, they say 75% of the companies that are going to be part of the solution haven't even started yet.
Right.
So yeah, we can't buy our way out of it. Yeah. One thing that individuals can do, and it's kind of nice before Christmas, is try to buy experiences rather than things for your friends, or buy used, because for example, the textile industry, clothing is 9% of the global carbon.
Right.
So, you know, this always having to wear something new, you can't wear the same dress twice. You know, if you can use your local marketplaces or secondhand stores, it really reduces the carbon footprint of Christmas even, you know, so it's, if we do it on a large scale, it can move the needle a bit.
I'm not one of these people, you know, I'm on camera all the time, and I don't worry about wearing the same outfit over, you know, not over and over again, but I don't go buy new things just to wear my show. To me, it's like a waste of money, when I can't have everything just hanging in the closet.
Yes.
Well, I'm very short, so it's hard to get rid of them. Right? But I believe in not spending money on unnecessary things, and new clothes all the time for me is unnecessary. When it wears out, then I'll get rid of it,
Right. Well, that's what I think. I had a pair of pants that the leg fell off, and I actually buy most of my clothes off the bidding site where I get to someone's front step, and for $5, if it doesn't fit, well, you donate it and get another one.
Exactly. Yeah. And also you're helping somebody else at the same time, so it's like, it's a win-win in that way, right? And,
Yes.
Again, you've made me feel much better. I'm really pleased that you come on the show, because there's so many things now that are making me feel, like I said, well, Ian Cooper's going to be back on the show. He's been on before. So I know he always has a lot of things to share. And
well, and do you know what? Actually, I think I got sidetracked, which I do.
Okay.
You were talking about large buildings, and I can't remember which direction I went there. There is a company I just met, just to give you even more hope. So large buildings, there's a company I just talked to. They're a startup in South America right now, and they actually go to hotels, like airport size, those kind of size buildings that really take a lot of carbon footprint. And they're installing heat pumps for free.
They're selling what?
It's called a heat pump. They don't use
I know
they don't use so massive heat pumps for free, and they maintain it for free for 15 years.
Wow.
And let's say they save you $2 million, so they'll reduce your carbon usage by 80%.
Right.
And what they do is they'll take half of your savings, so you're already 3 million up. Using that simple math. And so these people, it's this kind of, for further hope, I think it's this kind of ingenuity that humans are really smart if we need to solve a solution or solve a problem. So we do have these brilliant people, and they're about to come to North America. So they've said they would like to join our climate. I'm not using the name just in case they don't make it, but they are going to be able to start doing our large buildings in North America. So it's a genius.
Sounds great.
To do business.
When I lived in Ontario, we had purchased a heat pump, and we were talking to our neighbors and comparing our savings. But a lot of people, this would have been in the 80s, a lot of people just looked at us like, no way. They couldn't understand, it seemed, or they didn't take the time to learn properly what it was. And I thought it was a great idea, And
you're ahead of the time. Which province was that?
In Ontario.
See, and that's where it gets really cold, and the heat pumps have gotten even better now, because a lot of people have shied away from heat pumps because they say they don't heat when it gets cold enough here. But now they have an even more efficient, and they can certainly deal with the cold that we get in BC.
Right. Yeah. No, we had a lot colder where we lived than say in the Fraser Valley. Okay.
Yes.
But we never had a problem.
Well, I think too, if we can put on a sweater sometimes instead of, if we set there's so many little things, but we know that the largest things are going to be how people vote.
Sure.
If we keep electing people that don't believe in climate change and aren't going to do anything about it, we're kind of lost. So I think actually that's what my nuclear physicist says, the most powerful thing that each of us can do is vote.
And I don't understand how somebody can not believe in it. I just read an article, or maybe I heard it, I can't remember, on CBC or something about, is it the Coquitlam iceberg, the last one in this area, that is melting a lot faster than they predicted, which is true about everything they predict, right?
Yes.
And it's like, just listen to the facts.
Well, and that's what it's hard, during the smoking, when smoking was determined not to be good for you.
Yes.
There were still 3% of scientists then who were in the pocket of the cigarette companies. And we have that too with the oil and gas. Sometimes when you hear someone with that argument, you can look back to see who's funding them, and it's pretty easy to find out who's, so I just go with the United Nations right now is having COP27. And I won't get this quote exactly right. I put it on my Facebook today, but it was either we can do a collective pact to actually solve the problem, or we can do a suicide pact. And I think it is easy to see the science where the tipping points are not far away. Yeah. So my whole purpose is I want to be able to look at my son in the eye at the end of the day and say, I tried. Right. And maybe we can shift the needle a little bit, especially with 1.4 million Rotarians. Back in when polio was a real problem, Rotary actually eliminated that with vaccines. Yeah. So, they say we don't have a specific political party that we work with, but we certainly work on political issues. Right. But they went around and they actually worked with the Taliban to get people vaccinated when they had to do that there. So I think we can do hard things.
Yes. Yeah. Well, wow, this has been really, really interesting, but we're going to end it there. Now, this to the audience, I really hope you enjoyed listening to Robyn Curtis and feel more hopeful as I do. And she'll be back on the show. You're going to be seeing her again. Okay, everyone. So yes, and this is an important interview. So I really wish you would share it so other people can learn what I've learned today. It's just good to know, and try to do your part, even if it's sometimes just little stuff. We all need to recycle. We all need to do whatever we can. So take care, everybody. Thank you so much for watching the show, and be nice and peace out.
A sense of community, Chilliwack's a place to be. A sense of community where you're free. Rolling through the mountains, rolling through the valley, rolling through paradise with me. It's multicultural, you're sure to see it all. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see. Come party in the park, go dancing after dark. Chilliwack's the place to be, you'll see.